Okay.
I'm not seeing everyone. Hey, Scott.
Morning, Nat. Good morning, Rodney. Good morning, ABC Community School Partnership.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, look, I'm on time.
You're rocking and rolling.
Yeah. I know it's shocking. All right.
A few more minutes.
I'm going to make a real quick call. I'll be on time. Don't worry.
Jana, can you please share your screen?
Zoom has locked me out twice, so.
Zoom. I'm moving the board members over just so everyone knows. Hi, Counselor.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you. How is everyone?
Well, managing technology today. We're trying to stop getting kicked out of Zoom.
It's the new technique that everyone is mastering.
Over and over and over and over, it feels.
Yes.
Good morning, Ellen. Good morning, Sasha.
Good morning.
Good morning, Marjorie.
She's got to start. Hi, everybody.
Superintendent, we need one more person to have a quorum, I believe.
Okie dokie. We're still close.
Oh, we're all right on the money today. There we go. There's Commissioner Barboa. Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning. I think I'm the one you're talking to.
I am. We did have Commissioner Quesada briefly, but I think he might be having some internet challenges.
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We're going to give folks a couple more minutes to join, and then we will get started. Please sign in the chat if you haven't already done so. And just a reminder, if we could use the question and answer feature for any comments, just helps us manage the number of people a little bit better so we don't miss anything anyone says. Superintendent, if you want to go ahead and get started, I think we're good. We'll just let people join as they do.
Okay. Well,
Thank you, sir.
again, I know everybody's eager to jump into this, so I'm excited too. Well, good morning. It is great to see you all. I am pleased to welcome you all. And before we get really started, I want to thank a lot of you came to our town halls over the last couple of weeks. And I just want to say thank you. I really appreciate your participation and the input you gave us. So thank you very much. There was a lot of conversations around community schools, I'll tell you that. And it was really positive. So thank you. So I believe, now, did Mr. Siedebaka make it? I don't see him, but I'm assuming he didn't because there was some concern about him being on vacation. Well, I'll announce we do have a new member of the board. He'll be joining us from the Hispano Chamber, and that'll be Ernie Siedebaka, and we'll catch him next time we meet and give him the round of applause for joining us. But I think that's a great addition. So thank you all. So our beginning today, we have a presentation from the Robust Implementation and Collaborative Leadership. And I have Ellen and Barbara listed as our co-presenters. I don't see Barbara, so I think, Ellen, you get to be the first speaker at least.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Deanna, you helped me with this, okay? I want to say that the Robust Implementation Committee has been working very hard to make a concept into something that people can really use. And we already introduced to you the idea that there are national standards for community schools, and we went through them and created local standards for community schools. And then we fine-tuned them through input in many different formats. And we had those ready, I think, last time we met, correct, Deanna? And so we went over those. And then we've been working mostly, Deanna's been doing the bulk of the work on creating what we call a code book, which is basically a way to self-assess as a school at a community school council level, how you're doing with implementing the standards kind of in a developmental way, like we do in our classrooms. Okay, you're at beginning steps. There's nothing wrong with being at beginning steps. Let me give you a picture of what the next step is, and then finally what it would look like if you have robust implementation. And so what we want to do today is introduce a motion that would have us formally adopt this as something we act on in all our community schools and something that guides our work as a board. And one of the steps also will be, and I see Marjorie here, one of the steps will be to combine the robust implementation with the leadership, the shared leadership, so that those two, which we've been talking about for many months, really go hand in hand. And if we're able to combine those two subcommittees, I think we'll be able to guide this work as we move forward in the schools. So that's kind of a 10,000 foot level view of what we're doing. Deanna, is there anything you want to add to that?
No, just that we've created some tools for the schools to use in the self-assessment that we can talk about in a little bit. And some items also that Ellen, you wanted to share with the board.
Some items in terms of, help me, Deanna. Oh, the crosswalk, the code book and the crosswalk. Thank you. So can you all see this on your screen? This really, Deanna, you should really talk about this because you developed it and you know it better than I do, but it is really something you can hold on to and look at so that you can see that community schools are not, it's not just about having a health clinic or a dental clinic. It's not just about having homework diner or a food pantry. It's about really, those are activities, but really becoming a community school is much more complex than just the activities that are very important, but do not define community schools. So what we have here is this ability to see the standards and how we identify the standards, the community school standards, and then where you're going to find the crosswalk to the code book. And the code book has variables, and you can see the way you can self-assess. So if you look over on the other side, it says, here's the code book, here's your self-assessment. And we want to figure out how to encourage people not to look at it like a grade, like, oh, we all have to be A's, because if we're not an A, it's not okay. We want some kind of honest inventory of each school so that we can help them progress. So they can look at themselves in terms of, for example, the first one, does the Community School Council review and discuss school-wide qualitative and quantitative data? And then you can look down. Can you scroll a little more on this?
That's a picture, but I can show, yeah, I can show you where that came from here.
Okay.
It's actually this one. So let me move.
That's perfect.
There you go.
Where to go? So then you can see, you can have a good discussion at a school level. So you can see that the first one says we discuss some of this. And the next one says we discuss a little less of this. And the next one says we actually discuss a lot more than this. And the last one is we discuss about one of those. And what Deanna was able to do based on our last meeting is kind of switch those up. So it's not like the first one is where you want to be or the last one is the best one. It's like really look at it and figure out where you are. So you're not just saying, oh, I'm a 4 out of 4. We really want you to look at it without trying to, I don't know, what is it? Like, oh, I'm an A, so I'm a good community school. We want you to actually look at what you're doing. I need people to ask questions or make comments so that we are clear on this, because we've been working with it and I feel like I understand it, but I don't know that I'm communicating it fully.
Well, I think, Ellen, what you've created, if I understand this, and I actually have the code book open in front of me. I think that was attached to the agenda if people want to look at the actual code book itself, and I think it helps. But you've got a really nice rubric here. And I heard you say self-assessment. So that's the goal. It's for the schools to use as a self-assessment of their where they at?
Absolutely. It's not like there's the community school police that are going to come in and say, oh, you're not robust enough. We really want to encourage them to use this as a tool in their ongoing work and not feel like there's some kind of a consequence hanging over them. So that it's more of a, well, just the rubric is a tool. It's just, it's intended for the work of the school council in conjunction with the instructional council, so that it's really a school-wide effort. It's not just a silo within a school.
Thank you. Danette, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. This of course has been a labor of love for the last 2 years, and really trying to figure out how we measure implementation rather than program, because programs are only a point in time in a community school. It's really how we get to the determination of what those programs are, so that the right students and families get the right programs and services at the right time. So this tool is intended to ensure that we're getting to that decision-making process in the way that the research says will be the most effective and transform outcomes for families and communities. And I think, what I really want to make a point of is evaluation and data is never, ever meant to be the stick in a community school strategy. What it is meant to do is figure out where we're at and how we do better based on that community self-determination, which of course includes everything inside the school. And then, as we use these tools to move that work forward, we will also be looking at it from the outside to ensure that we're on point, right? We don't want to waste a lot of people's time doing something that isn't effective. And so we also have the College of Population Health students that will be continue to work with moving forward, where they will be taking an objective look at the rubric and assessing schools as well. But again, not for not for hammering a school, but for saying, is this working from the outside in an objective outsider view? Is it aligned with what the school is assessing with themselves? And then we'll talk a little bit more about some other things around data later on today, and is the data that they're collecting aligned with what we're seeing in the rubric? So we're trying to create a comprehensive process so that we know the implementation strategies are happening, the programs and service data are aligned to what the implementation strategies are, and that somebody from the outside is also saying, yep, you're assessing yourself correctly, so we know that the tool is valid. So I just wanted to make sure that folks understood so much in education is about punitive evaluation and data collection. That is not what this is about, nor what community schools are about. Thank you.
Ms. Krebs?
Hi, everybody. I think this is a great tool, just in my quick review of the document. And it really, to me, certainly connects our collaborative leadership group that we've been working with. This is the how. And then also it shows schools where they are on a path of continuous improvement in all the areas. It seems very clear what we're supposed to be doing and then to what degree we're supposed to be doing it. And we can figure out where we are and then where we need to be. And you can then, it seems like it'll be a great tracking tool on that continuous improvement process. So thank you. I think it looks great.
And Mr. Prunty?
Yeah, I would echo the sentiments shared here. And I really like what you said, Danette, when you talked about it's not a stick. It's, again, it's more like, you know, it's not a hammer. It's more like you're flashing a light on it, right? It's a flashlight rather than a hammer. I did have a question regarding the implementation across community schools. So when will this assessment, or when are schools asked to complete this assessment? And is it done just once a year? Is it done in the beginning of the year? And then at the end of the year, what's the cadence there?
What we're looking at for this year only is to do the assessment in the next 30 days or so, once, you know, if we adopt this today, and then again in late spring, just to compare for 1 year. As a practice, what we want to see this tool used as is a spring assessment to use for the following fall planning. So really looking at, you know, where do we need to focus our time and energy? What are we doing well? What do we want to grow? What do we want to improve on? And using it as a planning tool for the next year. So it will be done once a year. And in that spring semester, the same thing will happen with the population health students every spring as their capstone project. We're utilizing them in that way so that we consistently have that external piece. They may not look at every school moving forward. They will. We are going to try to do it this year, every single school that we have, but that's a lot of schools. But we'll probably do a sample each year just to make sure we're adjusting the tool as needed if we find that it's not in alignment with the current research or the current work. As we do with community schools, we want to make sure we're responsive to the current conditions.
That's great.
That's all the hands I see there, Ellen. So,
No, Barbara's got her hand up.
oh, I'm sorry.
I think the other strength of this is that it's not just a tool that you look at once, use to evaluate and then put away, that it really is designed like any good rubric or planning tool. It's used to be gone back to continuously to see how are we doing. It's part of what helps frame all of the actions. And I just want to echo what Marjorie said about it's really in line with the work that the collaborative leadership group had done. And I think those things fold together really nicely. And just, you know, this is really a change in how we do schooling. But just to go back to the fact that old style isn't what our schools, our students, our communities need right now. And so it's really trying to shift. How do we go from schools being kind of an enclosed unit to something that engages students, staff, community in a different way? How do we move forward? How do we decide what we focus on and where we go? And I think this is a tool that really helps us get there, not to create something just out of the blue, but the fact that the old style of how schools have operated in relationship to the staff, the community, the families, the students, really isn't working for us anymore. And so it's new ground. And I think that's what's so exciting about this tool, is that it really helps us find our way through that new ground to really make it work for students.
Scott, you're on mute. No.
I know. I've been banging on this button and nothing's happened. Stupid technology. Danette, you were up, and then Ellen.
Yeah, thank you, Barbara. I think one of the other things that will be determined between the collaborative leadership and robust implementation is also, you know, how we ensure that this is also aligned with whatever the school is trying to change, right? We know that there are measures that schools look at as they would consider their academic data, whether it's attendance or the subgroups that they're trying to support and enhance the outcomes for. And it will be, we will use that to align to this as well. So if a school has a certain goal, all of these things will ultimately come together so that we know we're aligning and not just piling more and more on a school because they're a community school. And also looking at, are we making the right investments, right? So if every school has a ton of services, I mean, there isn't a single school in Albuquerque Public Schools that doesn't have things in all of the pillar areas. They probably look a little bit different or functioning a little bit different, more internal maybe, but the idea of a community school is that we are really aligning everyone towards one common result. And there are both community partners and supports with, including families and students, as well as the internal district program services and the operations of a school. And so all of this can be aligned through these tools. And I don't want for the folks that are watching the webinar, I don't want anyone thinking that we're just layering and layering and layering. The committees are very intentionally looking at how do we align all of this to the current expectations from both the state and the district, and then also the operationalizing of what a community school does in the way they deliver education. Because I think when you see this, it can be a little panic, it could maybe cause a little panic.
And so I wanted to build off Barbara's comments, but now also Danette's comments, because I also see this as totally connecting with the strategic planning of the district. When I have conversations with Scott, the superintendent, or any of the other leaders in the district, and we talk about how to move the district forward, make sure that we're focusing on deeper learning with our students and really, getting past the kind of legacy of No Child Left Behind where we covered in order to test, but that we really look at how we're structuring learning in schools. This supports that, it goes with it. I just see this as connecting with the district's overall planning also. So that was it. I had a comma, but now I need a period at the end of that sentence.
Great. Anybody else have a comment about the code book or the crosswalk? Good. Well, I think it's excellent work. I really, I just appreciate the time and the effort you all put into it, and great. So there is no further comment. Then move on to the voting items. And we have two items in front of us. One is to adopt the draft minutes from August of 2021. So I assume you've all read those. If you have not, are there any corrections or additions to the minutes from August? Hearing nothing, I will accept a motion to approve the minutes from August.
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second.
So moved by Ellen Bernstein and seconded by Sasha Pellerin. Thank you. All in favor, would you make a noise into the microphone for me or wave?
Yes.
And all opposed? All right, motion passes. So our second vote item is to approve the adoption of the ABC Community School Standards and Code Book. Can I have a motion to do so?
I'll move that we accept them.
Could we read, there's an actual resolution attached to this, and I know that we
Oh,
sent out
I'm
the
sorry,
resolution.
I got it. Let me read the resolution.
Yeah, because there's some additional things besides that included in here. Thank
I
you.
apologize. Danette wrote this, I think, so she really wants me to read it into the record. I'm kidding.
Deanna wrote it.
All right. Let me read what we have here. So resolution, the Albuquerque Bernalillo County Community School Partnership to adopt the ABC Community School Standards and Code Book. Whereas in 2020, the ABC Community School Partnership engaged in the creation of a strategic plan led by Angela J. Gonzalez, PhD, president of AJG Consulting LLC, and whereas the collaborative leadership, communication and messaging, equity and school justice, Robust Implementation and Sustainability Committees were formed as a result of the ABC strategic plan. And whereas the Robust Implementation Committee conducted research into existing community school standards and best practices, developed community school standards for the ABC network of community schools, presented the standards, and gathered feedback from multiple stakeholders, including community school principals, coordinators, and other ABC strategic committees. And whereas the ABC Community School Partnership engaged professional evaluators and undergraduate students from the University of New Mexico College of Population Health to develop and test a code book which compiles and analyzes all implementation data from a community school. And whereas these implementation data are divided into components and variables within the code book, all of which are aligned with ABC CS standards. And whereas the ABC Community School Standards and Code Book guide the sustainability, strategic growth plan, and the robust implementation of ABC community schools, bring them into alignment with the 4 community school pillars: collaborative leadership and practices, integrated student supports, active family and community engagement, and expanded learning time and opportunities. Now, therefore, be it resolved as follows. The ABC Community School Partnership Board agrees to adopt the ABC Community School Standards and the Code Book for the following purposes: to help new community schools more effectively develop and implement their community school strategies, and to assist existing community schools to strengthen the quality of their practice and document outcomes, and to assist all community schools in continually deepening the implementation of the community school strategy, and to provide a consistent language and framework for advocacy, technical assistance, research, funding, and policy efforts, and to assess how the ABC community school standards are operationalized within a community school. Therefore, in consideration of the foregoing, be it further resolved as follows. The ABC Board recommends that the Albuquerque Public Schools Board of Education, the Albuquerque City Council, and the Bernalillo County Commission, as well as the Albuquerque Teachers Federation, the Hispano Chamber of Commerce, United Way of Central New Mexico, and the University of New Mexico to adopt similar resolutions in order to support the goal of robust implementation of the ABC Community School Standards. And the ABC Board further recommends that each ABC Board entity review its current policies and practices in order to align our support of community school development with the ABC Community School Standards and Code Book. It's a mouthful.
Mhm.
Your hand is raised.
Danette, you go and I'll go.
Yeah, I just, as you were reading that, I realized we need to ask for an amendment. The Office of Workforce, Department of Workforce Solutions is not on here. We need to add that. If that's okay, we'll just add it after the fact once the vote is happened.
So I consider that a friendly amendment. So we don't, Robert's rules means we don't have to vote on it. We just do it. And then I just want to say how important I think this motion is. Oftentimes we create things that we think are going to withstand the test of time, but there's no policy behind it. I think this is a very strong motion that helps us on the policy level with the implementation of the standards in the code book. And it also explains the rationale behind it. And I know one of the things that I will do is follow this motion and introduce it to our policy-making body, which are the union reps in every school, so that they can fully understand what it is, bring it back to their schools. I'll work with the community school coordinators, as I'm sure Danette and Deanna will, and APS will. So just wanted to say how important I think this piece of policy is.
So there's a big resolution in front of us. Do I have a motion to move to adopt? Well, I'm not reading it again, but adopt this resolution.
This is Counselor Sena. I make the motion.
Thank you, Councilor Senate. And do we have a second?
This
I'll
is
second.
Barbara. Go ahead.
Thank you,
Barbara.
Ms. Ms. Pellerin, thank you. So now, is there any further discussion about this?
I'd like to just say, looking at this and having been in education for a long time, really thinking about what is it that's going to make a critical difference in what we do for students. And lots of times, I think the strength of this resolution is that sometimes we approach things piecemeal as sort of a buffet. We can pick and choose. And the strength of this is to say, let's look at community schools in the whole of what makes an impact for students. And it's not that every school is going to be identical, because they're all made up of different needs and different communities. But the framework, the pillars, say this really is a whole way of approaching what we do. And I think for the sustainability of ABC and of the community school movement as a whole, it's really important that we keep those pillars intact. And as we implement, really help schools and support schools in looking at all of these different parts of what makes a community school. I think in education, we sort of pick out sometimes the easiest things, we go for that, and then they don't have the impact that we think they're going to have, because we haven't been able to look at the entire complexity of what makes a difference in our practice. And so I think this policy really helps say, let's look at community schools with their complexity, not because it's easy, but because that's what's really going to have an impact in what happens to our schools, our students, our communities. And so I think this is really helpful and important and clarifies a lot of the things that we've been discussing, but maybe haven't really communicated as clearly and as just articulately with the different entities that make up ABC. So thank you. I strongly support it.
Are there any other comments? Commissioner Barboa, I see you jumped on the screen. I don't know if you had something you wanted to say or just smiling for us. That's okay. Okay. Danette, did you want to do a roll call vote for this, or are you comfortable with just our general aye, nay?
Let's go ahead and do roll call on this one, just because it does impact each of the entities on the board.
I agree. Do you want to have Gloria do that, or do you want me to call the names?
I can do it. Superintendent Elder.
Yes.
Marjorie.
Aye.
Ellen.
Yes.
Barbara.
Yes.
Rodney.
Aye.
Enrico.
You have to unmute, Enrico.
Commissioner Barboa.
Aye.
Sasha.
Yes.
Chancellor Bassan.
Yes. Sorry, I'm getting mute.
Counselor Sena.
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, unanimously passes, and on the resolution, there's a space where we actually tally the votes. So that'll go into the final presentation. So thank you very much. Just as a side, Danette, if you're going to put 5 minutes for voting items on the agenda, you've got to give me a document that doesn't take me 5 minutes to read. So
Lots of cushion time later, though.
that's good. That's very good. Well, very good. We are now into the community school strategy bright spot. So Ms. Townsend.
Right. So for those of you who have been with us for many years, you have heard many times about this mysterious database that ABC has been trying to develop. And we are happy to say that it is launching this year. And what you see on your screen is a timeline of the work that we've been doing on this system. We started about 2018 and just having discussions about how do we collect the participation data of community schools, given that they have 4 different pillars, multiple programs in those pillars, multiple ways of implementing various programs in those pillars. So it's taken us quite a while to really develop it in trying to be responsive to the current conditions. And so in 2019, we really began the process and all the data sharing agreements that need to be in place. Phase 1 and 2 happened in 2020 for the most part. Last spring, we had at the end of, probably more summary, but we had 4 community school coordinators who volunteered to beta test the system with their schools and provide feedback for all of the functionality. And over the summer, we really tried to make all those adjustments. And then, Dan, if you want to go to the next screen, they also took on designing and training the other community school coordinators in this process in the last few weeks. And we will be launching it. We started launching September 1st was our launch point. We will see how it works. We are very excited about how this will interact with the code book and really looking at aligning with the school plans, the 90-day plans, the performance framework that the schools will be really operating under this year, and then being able to really produce data reports and things like that in real time based on the data in the system. This year, the coordinators are taking on a huge lift by being the only individuals actually entering data into the system, just so that we can control that, make sure all of the mechanisms are working correctly before we push it out to partners. But the idea is that a partner will also be able to log into just their section of the data system, and they will enter their own attendance data, which should also make it easier to gather that information and not have a coordinator spending so much time running around to each partner trying to get participation data for after school, the aggregate numbers for the health partners, the aggregate numbers on the food pantries. All of the things that are happening in community schools will be in one place. It will also help our small community-based organizations who don't already have their own data system to be able to print reports, link to what's happening with their students. One of the greatest things that happened, this is a huge bright spot, anybody who works across systems will also appreciate this, but APS was able to put in their registration system an active consent button that allowed, so every student in a community school, their family has the opportunity to give active consent when they register. This is a huge win for coordinators. Prior to this, they were going to have to run around kind of and get hard paper copies so that we knew we had active consent. And in a school like AHA, Atrisco Heritage Academy has well over 2,000 students. So this is a huge, huge win for the process for the coordinators. And what it also allows is any partner to go in and see their students and what they do. But because the system is linked to the Albuquerque Public Schools student information system behind the scenes, people can't see it, we will also be able to ultimately pull progress information on any student who's active in the system. So if we know that Boys and Girls Club is at Highland and they've got a certain subset of students that are participating in the activities that they're offering, ideally we will be able to pull the information to say, did they do better, right? Did their attendance improve? Because it's all linked behind the scenes. So we'll see. I'm sure there's going to be things that are hiccups this year, but we will be able to start seeing this and really start developing a way. So when we look at 51 community schools, that's a lot of people. It's 30% of the students at Albuquerque Public Schools. It's going to be really helpful down the road. We're also, trying to make sure that we're aligned with the state and all of the things that are coming out of the state and what we're doing reporting on. So we're super excited. We're really appreciative of these 4 ladies. That's Athena from Navajo Elementary School, Jess from West Mesa. We have Alma from Hawthorne, and oh my gosh,
Anna.
Anna,
Anna from
thank you.
Vista.
Sorry, Anna, I know. the most lovely and charming human being on the planet. Anna from where I don't even know where Anna
Bye,
is at this point.
Vista.
Vista.
Bye, Vista.
Thank you. Anna's been around APS for quite some time, and I've worked with her in different iterations and jobs. So I want to really give these guys a hand. It was no easy task to track everything they did and then give feedback to the developers to make sure that it was working the way coordinators needed it to work. So hats off to these ladies, and thank you to the 28 coordinators who came to the training and really listened diligently to what these ladies had to say. So that's our bright spot for tonight. All right.
Great. Good to hear. I'm really glad to hear that that work's being done. I'm glad to hear we're able to support it. It's always nice when we're able to actually do something that helps the people. So,
Yes.
so I
have an announcement, Superintendent.
so now we're at announcements. Go ahead.
This is an exciting one. So I think I can share my screen, maybe not. Oh yes, I can stop her sharing and do mine. So Community School Coordinator Week is coming up, as you could see on your screen, week of the 20th of September. What you should be seeing here, I am hoping, is a proclamation from the governor's office recognizing our community schools coordinators. And I want to thank Daniel Manzano for really spearheading this. We have done, our commission and council always recognize our coordinators, but for the first time ever, the governor's office has produced a proclamation recognizing them that week. And we will also be announcing some other things, some social media things, some other activities that we're doing that week, and we'll send out an email to everyone so that people, if they want to. But congratulations, community school coordinators, particularly in Albuquerque, Bernalillo County. You make up more than 50% of the total community school coordinators in our state. And the state is also recognizing the impact that you all make in the work across our state through this. So congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations. That's fantastic. And Danette, I'd like to see a copy of that proclamation if you'd email it to me. I think. Are there any other community announcements? All right. Well, I believe I closed the agenda. Ms. Peterson.
Sorry, I'll just do a real quick one. And this is combination sharing information and thank you. I know Highland High School tomorrow from 12 to 5 is doing a vaccination clinic. And so the huge thank you is just to Charlton and Highland and all of the people that he coordinates with to make it happen. And just if you have folks that are still looking for vaccinations, it'll be open to community. It's at Highland tomorrow from noon to 5. And that's the kind of thing that would not be happening without all of you here. So thank you.
Great. Anyone else? Okay, well, I believe that brings us to the end of our agenda. I have unfortunately closed it. When is our next meeting, Danette?
Very good question. Let's see. The next meeting is on October 14th, and we will resume our more interactive conversations around the strategic planning and actions that have taken place between our last couple of meetings and what the committees have been working on at that point in time. I know we've had a lot of sit and get in these, but we've been doing a lot of work that led up to that. So we look forward to seeing you.
Wonderful. Thank you all very much for attending today, and we will see you in October. Have a great day.